Hello and welcome. I'm talking today about postnatal depression. My name's Naomi Stockman. I'm a hypnotherapist, trauma therapist, and nutritionist. And I myself have 4 children ranging between 3.5 and 31. So I do have a little bit of experience with having babies at various ages in my life, and how that after period can really shake us and bring up stuff that we weren't expecting, like negative emotions like fear and loneliness, and that really teary down stage, and even feelings of complete inadequacy. And it can lead to depression or anxiety. A lot of people that come to me for anxiety, for instance, I'll say, well, how long has this been a problem? And they'll say, look, about 5 years. And I'll say, so what, tell me a bit more about yourself. And they'll turn out that they had their first child 5 years ago. So having children shifts us from being a woman or a daughter or a friend or a sister or whatever. It gives us a new title. It gives us the title of being a mum. Now that comes with a whole big layers and layers of responsibility, but it also comes with a shift in identity, and it depends on a couple of things, like how we view, what our personal perception is of what is a mother, whether we feel that we're adequate for that role, how the extra responsibility feels, whether the rest of our life is in a congruent, happy place, and whether we feel like we have support and connection and community and belonging. For me, when I had my first child, I was 17 years old. I'd been working in the city as a receptionist for a year, and all of a sudden I was away. Not only had I left school young and lost all my school friends, but not only like I then found that I was just isolated from everybody. I did not know one other person with a baby. I didn't know one other person my age. They were all off either doing things at university or at work, and here I was with this baby that just needed so much from me. Now, because I had a particular perception of what a mother was, I put on my mothering persona and went into being what I thought a mum was, or a good mum, because we all have in us that we'd like to be good. I guess we love our children, but even that sense of bonding, I mean, when people have a baby, there's a whole stack of hormones that happen. There's oxytocin, that vasopressin, and all these things that, like, so that we connect with that child and form that mother bond. And that doesn't always happen. I mean, sometimes there's a breakdown in the communication in those hormonal releases, or communication to our programming, where we look at that child and we don't feel what we're meant to feel, and we feel guilty about that. Like, why don't I feel like I think I should feel? And there is no right or wrong in mothering. It's just whatever experience you're going through is your experience. And I remember I had a best friend when my first daughter was 2, and I went to her house one day and she was in tears, and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I just realized that I love my child." And I remember thinking, oh, wow, I thought that was just an automatic thing that happened. And she said, "No, it's just taken me 2 years to really click and connect." And that can happen, and it can cause total feelings of guilt and shame, and total different things. Look, this stuff can all be switched on. People adopt children and love them with all their heart. We find a partner that we love with all our heart. So whatever's going on for you, whether it's a disconnect, or whether it's a self thing, or whether it's whatever, there's such a big broad spectrum of what causes us to feel anxious and depressed after we have a baby. And maybe it's just the misalignment with what I thought or what I expected, and the reality. It's not all pretty. It's not all lovely. I used to say Johnson & Johnson have a lot to answer for, because they have those ads on TV where it's just all joy and love and connection. And then you get this little baby, and it's like, that's not like the ad, and it feels so that you've been misled or ripped off in that sense. So the other thing that there is a link between distressing events in childhood or past and postnatal depression, because basically, like, we can sweep things under the rug and keep going. We've got this inner tenacity to survive, but the minute you pass us a tiny little baby and flood us with hormones, all of a sudden all the other stuff isn't as easy to keep in the back. It starts to push its way out onto us. And so I guess from a postnatal depression or postpartum depression point of view, whatever's coming up, this might be a good time to do the work, which unfortunately for all of us, when we have negative emotions, negative feelings, depression, anxiety, and so forth, they can be overcome 100%. And I see this all the time, but it does take, ignoring it isn't the answer. The solution is always a self-directed solution. So finding someone to help you work through stuff. And even aside from postnatal depression, just any normal depression is the same thing. Like, things don't tend to go away. Like, if you ignore them, it's usually more productive if you kind of seek the solution rather than wait for it to come to you. So whatever you're experiencing at the moment, completely normal, completely acceptable, and we welcome all. Like, my view of the world is that we welcome everything, whether it's the negative or the positive, because it all has a purpose in our life to drive us into a better place in the long run. So if you're experiencing anything that is not feeling right for you, if you're having any thoughts that are frightening you or that you're feeling are not normal, please reach out and get support. In the past, we lived in tribes, we lived in communities. The women would be together, they would help and support each other through this journey into motherhood, through this birthing process, through this sleeplessness. And there would be extended family, sideways family, like sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, and there would be a hierarchy above of grandparents and great grandparents or whoever was around to support in the community. And people would live together in close proximity, if not even in the same dwelling. So we're seeing a much, much higher level with this nuclear family model that we live now, where people are left to deal with stuff on their own. No one needs to be alone. Reach out, get support. I'm here, happy to speak with you. Naomi Stockman, My Local Hypnosis.